Man, this East region has some coaches that give me a run for my money when it comes to being fired up about college basketball. Between Dan Hurley, Brad Underwood, Bruce Pearl, some really fiery guys on the sideline. I love to see it, and I'm excited for this region. Welcome to Layup Lines, the college basketball betting show for Bandwagon Sports. I'm your host, DaRock, and I'm going to be going here region by region, giving my best bets and predictions for every game. So we're going to start here in the East. And we're actually going to start here at the bottom of the bracket with some of the games kicking off on Thursday. First in Omaha, we have the 2-seed Iowa State as a 16.5-point favorite against 15-seeded South Dakota State. And then 7-seed Washington State. They're actually 1.5-point underdogs to the 10-seed Drake. So Iowa State, they got a pretty killer backcourt led by Tamin Limpsey and Keyshawn Gilbert. Really good defensive team, even though Zeke Mayo does average 18.5 points per game for the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. I'm going to be going with the under in this game. 16.5 points, maybe kind of a little high for me in a team that, is known more defensively in Iowa State. So I'm going to take them to cover or to go with the under and win the game. And then the other game, as you can see, like I said, Drake is actually 1.5-point favorite despite being the 10 seed. That game tips off at 10:05. It's the last game of the night, but I think it should be a good one because Tucker DeVries is a player to watch. He's going to be the best player on the court for either team. He's going to give Isaac Jones a tough matchup there. And, like I said, when you see a lower-seeded, lower-ranked team, like I've been saying all season, the lower-ranked team's actually the favorite. That kind of gives you a sign. I think they're going to win. I think Vegas isn't trying to trap us here. So I like the Bulldogs. Avenged last year. They were in the tournament but couldn't find a win. I like them to get a win this year. Then moving on to the next group of games. This one is also on Thursday. Also in Omaha as well. It's the morning session here. BYU is a 9.5-point favorite against the 11-seed Duquesne with a total of 142.5. And then Illinois, 11.5-point favorite against Morehead State with a total of 147.5. I like BYU to cover this 9.5. They got some really solid guards and Jackson Robinson and Spencer Johnson. Duquesne is led by Day Grant, who averages nearly 16 points per game, so they do have a solid guard themselves. But BYU, like I said earlier in my first video, I think they're a little underseeded. I think they're a really solid team. Duquesne, their coach just announced today that he's retiring after this game, so while it was nice of them, to go on that run here, win the A-10, make it into a two-bid league, I think that's probably going to be the end of the line for them. So I'm going to take BYU minus 9.5. Illinois State, 11.5-point favorites against Morehead. I have maybe, heard a little bit of rumblings. Could this be an upset pick? But I'm still leaning with the Fighting Illini. 11.5, I don't know. I think my best bet in this game is the over just because, Riley Minnick's really solid guard for Morehead State, scores 20 points per game. Then, the Illini are led by Terrence Shannon and Marcus Damask. So, some guards that can really fill the bucket. Illinois, like I said, they've been a really high-scoring team all season. They like to fill the bucket. I think Morehead State can do the same. So I'm going to go Illinois wins, and I'm going to go with the over in that one. Then moving on now, some of these games here, the next set of games here are on Friday in Spokane. And it is the 5-seed San Diego State. It's a 6.5-point favorite against UAB with a total of 138.5. That game's at 145 on Friday. And then the second game of that pod there, Auburn, 12.5-point favorites against Yale. That one's at 4:15 on Friday with a total of 140.5. For me, my best bet in this pod, I like San Diego State minus 6.5. I think this line's kind of low. I think UAB, they had a nice run to get to the American title game, win it all. But they got lucky. They played Temple, who may or may not have been point shaving. So that's a crazy story right there. And, just Jalen Ledee is going to be the best player on the court. He hit that buzzer beater in the Final Four last year for San Diego State. This Aztecs team, they're experienced in the tournament. I like them to win. I think 6.5 points should be a pretty easy cover for them. I think that's pretty low for a 5-12 matchup. And this is probably the 5-12 I'm most confident in, where I think the Aztecs get the win. Then Auburn, 12.5-point favorites against Yale today. And actually, I was listening to Field of 68, and they actually liked Yale to win this one. They thought it was going to be a potential upset pick. But, I'm still leaning the Tigers. I think they're a really good player. Once again, it's like kind of John I. Broome is going to be the best player on the court. Danny Wolf is a really solid forward for the Bulldogs as well. But for me, I think my best bet in this one, I could see this being a close game, so maybe Yale plus 12.5 is the play, while I do think the Tigers win, just since upset potential, maybe it's a close game. I do like that 140.5. I like to go over there. Like I said, SEC teams just know how to score the ball. They play a very high-scoring, fast-paced game. Yale was in a pretty high-scoring one as well on Sunday in the the Ivy League Championship. So I'm going with the Bulldogs to cover, Tigers to win, but the over is my best bet in that one for sure. And then finishing it off here with then the top seed in the region, we have UConn also playing on Friday in Brooklyn. 26.5-point favorites against the Stetson Hatters. Congrats to Stetson on making their first NCAA tournament, but I think it ends there. The bet I kind of like here, over 145.5. Again, when some of these lines are so steep, I just kind of like to play totals. UConn, they average 81.5 points per game. Stetson also can score the ball, 77.5 points. So both two kind of high-scoring teams. I like them to go over that total there. And then what I think, honestly, is the first-round game in this region, one I'm really excited for. FAU, 1.5-point favorites against Northwestern. This is the first game to kick off the day here on Friday at 12:15 in Brooklyn. The total in this one's 141.5. And, I mean, this matchup between John L. Davis and Boo Buie is going to be probably one of the best guard matchups in the whole tournament. But once again, I'm going with the experienced team. I like the Florida Atlantic Owls. Granted, Northwestern's also been in the tournament, but FAU's the one that went on that deep run last year. They brought back most of their team, if not all their team. I kind of think the Owls are waiting a little bit here to kick it in gear to the tournament, and I think they do it. I think especially just 1.5 points, I like them to cover that, win the game by a bucket there. That's all you need. So I'm going FAU and to cover, and then UConn over is my best bets in those games, with then UConn winning as well. Now let's just look here to wrap it up, this East region preview, with our odds to win the region. So UConn is number one, obviously the 1 seed. They're at plus 110 to win the region. But then the second best odds is actually Auburn at plus 450. Like I said, I have seen or did hear Auburn to lose was like a popular pick today, but I also saw Auburn to win the region in a couple of brackets. So personally for me, like I mentioned the other day, UConn is my pick to win the region, but the sleeper pick that I actually like here at plus 1,600 to win the region is the BYU Cougars. Like I mentioned, solid guards. I really like Ali Khalifa. He's a good big for them. I also think they got a pretty good draw. I think, Illinois, like I said, very offensive team. If BYU's, kind of able to limit their shot making, I can see the Cougars knocking them off. And then, you switch up Iowa State, very defensive team. Maybe they score against them. But also, I kind of like Drake. I think Drake could knock off Iowa State. Like I said, Tucker DeVries, just really good, solid player. I mean, that'd be such a fun game if we get it, like I think they will in Omaha, between Iowa State and Drake. I mean, right on the border there. The game's in Nebraska, really close to Iowa. I think there'd be a big turnout from both teams, especially because they're both western half of the state schools. So I would say for me, my sleeper is going to be BYU. Probably wouldn't pick Drake through all the way. They're plus 2,800. But yeah, I'm going to go sleeper BYU, but my square pick, I'm going UConn to win this region. So that's going to wrap up my picks here for the Eastern region. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're enjoying these previews, make sure to like on the video and subscribe to the Bandwagon Sports YouTube channel down below, because I'm doing these videos for every region. Like I said, East and West are dropping here on Wednesday, with then the Midwest and South will come out on Thursday. So make sure to keep an eye out for those. And I will see you guys then. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.